There are truths that history prefers to conceal not because they are incorrect, but because they are too unsettling to be voiced openly. Truths that disturb comfort. Truths that strip away society's most attractive illusions. And one man dared to speak them not in anger, not for vengeance, but with cold, disturbing clarity. His name was Arthur Schopenhauer, a man who recognized the darkness beneath human desire. A philosopher who did not idealize women. He analyzed them. He watched them. He unraveled their patterns, their influence, their control not in the world of romance, but in the battlefield of nature. And what he uncovered was so harsh, so disquieting, that even now, many men refuse to accept it. But if you're seeing this video, you've likely already looked beyond the illusion. You've sensed the confusion, the letdown, the shift in her eyes when affection turns distant. You've wondered, was any of it genuine? Schopenhauer answers that. And once you hear his words, you'll never view women or love in the same way again. Part 1. The Mask She Wears. Understanding the illusion. Schopenhauer didn't begin with bitterness. He began with awareness. He noticed how women display a particular image of soft, kind, emotionally receptive. Yet behind this exterior is something more primal, a strategic mind that operates not in offices or wars, but in the daily psychology of men. He named it the instinct for survival. And this instinct, he argued, makes women masters of camouflage. In his words, the essential flaw in the nature of women is their lack of justice. Before reacting, consider what he meant. He wasn't claiming women are malicious. He meant women function from a different moral framework cone that values outcomes over fairness. It's the reason she might vanish after saying she adored you. Why she can reshape the past to rationalize walking away. Why she can claim you meant everything until she met someone else. For Schopenhauer, female purity isn't safety. It's the greatest threat because it puts your guard down. Men fall for the mask. The gentle tone. The bright grin. The laugh. But underneath lies a drive older than love itself. Survival. Women lack physical strength. They don't command armies. So, they evolved to lead men. Not by force, but by persuasion. By knowing how to get you to pursue, to stay, to provide, and to think you're leading. But you're not, because you mistook charm for honesty. And that's where many men stumble. Part 2. Romantic love is a beautiful lie. Now let's go to the root of why men are emotionally shattered by women. Schopenhauer believed love is not what people imagine it to be. He didn't view it as magical. He didn't even see it as personal. He wrote, "The ultimate aim of all love affairs is actually more important than all other aims in human life, and is therefore quite worthy of the profound seriousness with which everyone pursues it. That purpose is the creation of future offspring." Let me simplify that for you. You don't fall for her because of her essence, you fall because your biology is pushing you to pass on your genes. And her biology? It's evaluating you looking for the strongest, most capable, and emotionally manageable partner available. She doesn't love you for your unique self. She loves you because, at the moment, you meet her criteria. That's why your humor once made her laugh. Your flaws once seemed charming until suddenly you're too much, too little, or emotionally distant. You didn't become someone else. Her instinct recalibrated. Schopenhauer realized this long before any red pill theories or internet philosophies. He didn't discover it through rejection, he witnessed it in nature, like a biologist observing reproductive behavior. Love, he claimed, is a mechanism nature uses to trick men into thinking they've found the one, when in truth, she was never truly his. She was a temporary actor in a biological plan to extract benefit, reproduce, and then move forward. Think she lacks feeling? No, she's just optimized. You assumed love was eternal. It lasts until your usefulness ends. And when your usefulness expires, so does the affection. The dinners, the stories, the shared smiles, they vanish. Not because she became someone else, but because your value diminished. And the men who don't grasp this suffer without end. They write songs, plead for answers, wait for a reply that never arrives, believing they lost love. No, brother, you didn't lose love. You lost your role. That's the warning Schopenhauer tried to whisper to you. Part 3. Marriage, the most refined prison ever constructed. Let's uncover the fantasy sold to every boy from his earliest memories, the dream of the castle, the princess, the forever after. Yes, marriage. Schopenhauer didn't merely question this institution, he dismantled it. He didn't view it as sacred, but as a cleverly set snare wrapped in tradition. And he made it plain. He wrote, "Marriage is a trap laid by nature. The bait is love. The goal is procreation. And the result is captivity. Most men walk into marriage thinking it's a prize." She said, "Yes, you've been chosen. You're building a life together, right? A number. You've agreed to a deal, one where control slowly shifts into her hands. In courtship, you had options. In marriage, those disappear. She no longer needs to win you, she already did. The rules shift." Schopenhauer noted that once a woman secures the bond, her behavior adjusts not suddenly but steadily. Warmth declines, physical closeness wanes, demands rise, and worst of all, the man becomes emotionally and financially trapped. He is no longer valued for himself, but for what he delivers. And if he can't meet the new standards, he loses it all, not just her, but his children, his assets, and his peace of mind. Schopenhauer saw marriage not as a system built for male well-being, but for female protection in society, upholds it through courts, policies, and social pressure. You believe she became different after getting married? She simply stopped acting because she no longer needed to. Schopenhauer cautioned that marriage is not a destination for men. It often marks the beginning of their gradual decline. Part 4. The Great Reversal. How aging becomes her weapon. This is something most men never consider until it's already too late time. Not yours, but hers. Schopenhauer was deeply fascinated by nature's timeline, particularly how it shaped female behavior in relation to aging. He noticed something unsettling. A woman's strength is rooted in her youth, her physical appeal, and her power to attract. But once those start to vanish, her strategies shift from allure to dominance. What he meant was this. When a woman is young, she doesn't need to argue, persuade, or manipulate. Just by being present, the world responds to her. Her power is effortless. She draws attention naturally. But time is relentless. Youth slips away. Beauty softens. Interest fades. And when that happens, something changes. The performance evolves. She stops depending on beauty and starts using social pressure, guilt, responsibility, emotional blackmail, reputation, shame, family expectation, or moral manipulation. In her younger days, she said, "I love you." In later years, she says, "You owe me." That's what Schopenhauer meant when he described older women as becoming more bitter, more calculated, more controlling. Not from malice, but from survival. Because when the world no longer offers her attention freely, she learns to draw it out by other means. And if you, as a man, fail to recognize this transformation, you'll keep hurting yourself trying to hold on to a version of her that's no longer real. She's not seeking to attract anymore. She's now working to maintain. That preservation may look like guilt over your decisions, criticism of your interests, or inserting herself into every choice you make. Because if she doesn't, she fades. And fading is the one thing she dreads most. Part 5. Emotional manipulation. Her true influence over men. This is the moment where most men lose, not during dating, not even in marriage. They lose on the emotional battlefield because she understands your heart better than you do. She knows how to twist it, hurt it, and patch it back together when it benefits her. Schopenhauer described this with brutal clarity. A woman's entire existence is built around the affections. She crafts her reality through the emotional reactions she provokes, especially from men. What does that mean? Her currency is attention. Your approval, your admiration, your loyalty, these sustain her emotional world. And the moment she figures out she can steer your emotions, she becomes something more powerful than attractive. She becomes tied to your self-worth. You message her. You stare at your phone waiting. You read into a short reply. You panic when there's silence. You feel joy when she says, "I miss you." And you feel empty when she doesn't respond at all. This isn't love. It's emotional dependency. And now for the harsh reality. She orchestrated it, from flattery to sudden withdrawal, from unexpected sweet notes to emotional distance, from "I need you" to "I don't feel it anymore." She conditions you like Pavlov conditioned his dogs to crave her praise, to dread her absence, to pursue her warmth, even when she's the one shutting it off. This is the darker psychology Schopenhauer warned us about. Not because women are evil, but because men are unaware. Unaware of how easily their emotions are turned against them. Unaware of how desperately they seek validation from someone who's simply better at playing the game. If you want to win, stop playing on her terms. You must disconnect your value from her reactions. Part 6. Choose solitude or be devoured. This is where most men arrive at a decisive crossroad. They've glimpsed what lies behind the illusion. They've come to terms with what love truly was. They've grasped the emotional manipulation, the illusion of intimacy, the quiet control, and then they ask, "What now?" Schopenhauer's reply: walk away, not with resentment, not with anger, but into solitude. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Let that settle. Schopenhauer didn't equate solitude with lonely shesh. Saw it as freedom. When you're alone, you're no longer acting, no longer chasing approval, no longer shaping yourself to fit someone else's image. You become still, and in that stillness, you reclaim yourself. Most men dread being alone because they've been conditioned to think their value comes from being wanted by a partner, by children, by a role in someone else's life. But Schopenhauer offered a different view. That unbreakable power comes not from being chosen, but from not needing to be. You're not scrolling endlessly to feel complete. You're not messaging for reassurance. You're not compromising your purpose just to avoid silence. You're choosing yourself. And in a world that constantly pushes men to serve others, solitude becomes your greatest rebellion. That's when your clarity sharpens, your direction returns, your expectations elevate, and your heart, once used as a weakness, becomes your stronghold. Schopenhauer believes solitude isn't a luxury. It's a requirement, because only in solitude can a man truly hear his own thoughts pure, unfiltered, untouched. Part 7. You were never meant to be broken in. Here's where it all converges. After all of it, the fantasies of love, the illusions of marriage, the manipulation of your heart, Schopenhauer left men with one final reality. You were never meant to be domesticated. From the very beginning, the world tries to tame you, to soften you, to make you compliant, to reward submission and punish resistance. And at the heart of that conditioning stands a woman, not necessarily a specific woman, but the idea of her. The fantasy, the hope, the beautiful illusion. Schopenhauer recognized it early. He believed society uses romance, and through it, women to domesticate men, to draw them away from their wild essence, their inner vision, their uncompromised independence. The more a man gives himself away to women, the more he fades from himself. Now, don't misinterpret this. He wasn't saying to avoid love altogether. He was warning. Never surrender your core. Never give up your purpose, your masculine spirit, your identity, just to prove you're worthy to someone else. Because once you do that, you've already lost not just her, but yourself. You weren't made to plead, to chase approval, to shrink into a mold that someone else designed. You were meant to invent, to venture, to lead, to build, to stand, to leaven, if you must stand alone. That's the kind of man Schopenhauer respected. Not the romantic, not the dreamer, but the one who awakened. The one who stopped running after illusions and began shaping his own world. The whisper still lingers. So now we come back to the whisper, the one Schopenhauer passed on to men nearly 2 centuries ago. A whisper that most dismissed. A whisper that the world tried to silence. A whisper that still echoes inside the hearts of those few men who had the courage to hear it. He whispered, "Understand her nature, look through the disguise, and above all, stay sovereign. Because in a world designed to domesticate you, the most dangerous thing a man can be is free. And once you've heard that whisper, you can't unhear it. You can't fall back asleep. You can't return to the illusions that once brought you comfort. But you can become something great, awake, focused, and untouchable." If this message struck something within you, like, comment, and subscribe, because truth doesn't just sting, it liberates. And here, we don't pursue love. We pursue clarity,